12 teraflops.
Please cut!
What does that even mean if you're not a massive nerd? Well, compare that with the power of the Xbox One X, which only had 6, then it's a lot more. Then if you add into the mix the PS4 Pro's 4.2, you can start to see that the Xbox Series X is boasting a lot of nerd power for those graphics lovers. And that is an absolutely massive leap from the 1.84 teraflops we found within the base PS4. And then if you go all the way back to the base Xbox One, we had 1.31 teraflops. You could see just how many teraflops we have gathered over the course of a generation. Still don't know what half of that means, but we're about to find out together.
A unit of computing speed equal to 1 million 10 to the 12 floating point operations per second. Simple enough.
The PS5 is rumoured to have around 9, so if this is correct, then the Xbox One Series X is... Xbox One Series X? The Xbox Series X is going to be the most powerful console on the market, but I wouldn't put it past Sony to have a couple of tricks up the sleeves. But all of that was still just a bunch of words for nerds. It basically means ray tracing. Teraflops mean the potential for ray tracing, other special things that have got technical names. In terms of ray tracing, it's pretty much a load of light paths and pixels and reflections of things, so it's tracing the line of light within games, which basically means your games look a lot prettier. If you take Control, for example, a recent game from Remedy, which made a lot of base consoles act like aircraft and take off. I know mine is on its last legs because of things like this. We have started to see console gaming get ray tracing. PC guys have had it for a little while, but ray tracing within the consoles, 12 teraflops, that GPU is going to be able to handle a lot more of that, and we're going to see a lot more of it without having to worry about our consoles exploding. It's got all the basis for setting up a new generation to push those graphical boundaries. I just hope the systems have got a decent cooling system. 12 teraflops basically means potential for the console. This is all terms of GPU, obviously. We know how far the current consoles can be pushed. If you look back at launch games, it happens every generation. I always look back at the PS3 and the Xbox 360 and I think, take the PS3 for an example. You look at the launch games that came out on the PlayStation 3, and then you look at something like The Last of Us towards the end of the generation. We can basically just track the improvement in graphical fidelity, things like that, pushes in frame rate. And this is what's going to be the growth of this generation, basically. It's possibly not going to be as big a leap as we've seen before, but there is a lot of potential there. So by the end of the Xbox One Series X, we might be pushing 8K, even if it's not true 8K. It'll be a bit of upscaling and video and things like that, but it could get quite exciting for you graphic nerds out there. Graphic nerds, I'm pretty sure there was meant to be an S in there, because otherwise it sounds like a whole different kind of night. But I'm sure by the time we all get 8K TVs, there'll be 12, 16, whatever on the market, and you can just regret your purchase immediately, like I've already done with 4K. I wonder just how many times I can say teraflops in this video, but teraflops are all about GPU performance. So if you get randy for resolution, this news should have you very excited if you are an Xbox player. The next console will support up to 120 frames, plenty of frames for you to put pictures of all your friends in, which, if you're like me, I'm sure you have none. Now the really cool stuff I am interested in, customer satisfaction. The new Xbox One Series X and the Xbox Series line, I assume, is completely backwards compatible, basically supporting all the games that are currently backwards compatible in the Xbox lineup, going back to the original Xbox, with the full library of Xbox One games. This is how it should be done. PlayStation need to take note of this, do the exact same thing, because we need to get to a stage when we're now buying a new console and we already have this massive library of games to play. It should just be the standard now, and it's good to see Xbox taking that charge yet again. Other big We Are Your Friends news is the smart delivery system coming to the Xbox Series X, which basically means if you buy a current Xbox One version of a game and it gets a later Xbox Series X update, lots of X's in this video, Microsoft will gift you that upgrade eventually for their first party titles. We don't know how widespread this is going to be. CD Projekt Red have jumped on the train with this, and they have given assurances that their game Cyberpunk 2077, because it's coming out so close to launch, they have already confirmed that they will be giving this upgrade as well. They are all on board with it, which is decent. I know a lot of people were worried about this. They were thinking, have they delayed it to get it on the next consoles? Well, now you buy it once, you'll get it across both generations.
This would actually be a very much welcome change in the industry for this generation. I don't think we can take that for granted at all, because if you actually think about the amount of comparisons we had in the past, the amount of direct comparisons between the 360 versions, the Xbox One versions, PS3, PS4, and it was just a way of developers making more money at the time through remasters. This would be a way of completely taking that out of the picture, which is just perfect for consumers. If you look on the last generation, over 50 games were remastered. That was developers making additional money this way, and it would be nice to see those resources going more into the games themselves. As much as I do love a remaster where it's called for, being able to focus on new projects is something we need for this generation. This generation is going to need games, and I think this is a good step forward for it. We've had the generation of remasters. Now let's get back to new IPs, things like that. Although I really still would like a Fallout 3 remaster, if possible. Please, Bethesda.
We don't, however, know if this will be digital only, which is my concern. I still like buying physical games, especially if big games like that. We'll have to wait and see on this. We don't really have many details at the time of recording, but I'm sure we'll find a little bit more out, and I hope they can do something like you buy the physical edition and then they upgrade the digital copy next generation or something. Just something to make sure that us physical buyers aren't completely left in the cold. Does this mean that the Xbox Series X launch library is going to be very weak if they are really, really working hard to make the console launch seem attractive in other ways? Maybe, but the hippie nature of I love everything gamer that is coming from Xbox recently and their consumer-friendly moves they're going with, I wouldn't be surprised if this is just another one of them. They've had such a bad generation early on. Last generation, current generation, Jesus Christ.
This is it, Xbox One.
Fortunately, we have a product for people who aren't able to get some form of connectivity. It's called Xbox 360.
Right. So stick with 360. That's your message if you don't like it?
I still feel the cringe of all of that went on in 2013. This is why Xbox being able to salvage this generation in any way, as they have been trying to do, is so impressive. You've got to think about all the things that they had to come out and deal with. No used games. The console was £429 in the UK, which was ridiculous at the time. No real exclusives. They've lost Call of Duty. They were no longer the place to play first parties. And they just seem to have no vision. They'd gone and believed their own hype from 360, and PlayStation just wiped the floor of them, which is why I'm so happy to see a positive start from them before the actual conferences occur and before we hear about what's to come next from Xbox. It's looking good so far. They've just got to ride it out.
They came out of the gates firing with things like Games Pass. They have tried their hardest to get back on level terms with PlayStation. I think this could just be another one of those moves, setting them up for a consumer-friendly generation, trying to get them back on top with things like xCloud coming. It could be a very interesting generation for Microsoft. They're going to carry on the wave of being your cool gamer friend. Cheers, Phil. Hopefully they'll soon tell us all what we're really going to care about, how much we're going to cry over the cost of the new console. It's rumoured that it's going to be around $500, whatever your equivalent is there. Our equivalent is usually the same because they rip us off in the UK, so probably about 450, 500 quid is what we're looking at, but we will find more out there. We're going to also find out eventually if we can fit more than 4 games on the hard drive. It is a solid state drive, we know that, but we don't know if we're going to get more than 4 games with the size of the games that we get nowadays on those consoles. But as they're currently dancing with Sony on all that cool stuff, waiting for the other one to move first so they don't put their foot in it, we might be waiting a little while longer, because we would have expected at this point, with it being towards the end of February, to have heard something a little bit more substantial by now. So we could be in for quite a wait, but it is going to be an exciting few months nevertheless. But that is it for today's video and the current Xbox information blowout. For all things gaming, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel James Over. I will be chatting more gaming news and just having general silliness in terms of gaming on this channel. What do you guys think about the Xbox Series X information? Let me know in the comments, let's have a discussion. But for now guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.